Bespoke miscellaneous charts, gradient bar chart. And this is what it looks like. Essentially, we are going to use data densification and a few table calculation tricks to produce this gradient bar chart effect. Essentially, we are drawing loads of lines next to each other and we're just increasing the shade on them so it gives us this effect. It's not too difficult, it's quite simple to understand, but let's get into it. And let's start by opening Tableau desktop. So now we are going to load our sample superstore dataset. We will do this by double clicking on Microsoft Excel, locating your file, and then selecting the superstore data source. As always, we are going to take orders and drop that into the query panel. Nice and simple, but don't go anywhere yet. We are going to do some data densification, so we're going to add some model data to this. So let's double click on the logical table so we can get the physical view. Go into your spreadsheet editor and now type out the following. 2 columns, path and position. We want 0, 100, 0, 100, 0, 0, 1 and 1. So we're creating one part of densification using the path and another one using position. So let's copy this information and paste it into Tableau. Now, go down to Create Join Calculation, type in 1, click OK. Let's do the same for the other side. Create Join Calculation, 1, and let's click OK. It should now all load. Let's rename this to Model. Perfect. Now we are ready to build our data visualization. So let's go to Sheet 1. As always, we have path, so let's create our bin. Right click on path, go to Create, and select bins. In the value, I want us to type in 1 and click OK. I now want us to create an index field. So, create calculated field. Let's call this index. And inside we are going to put index minus 1. Nice and simple. So with these calculations, let's start building out the basis of our data visualization. So let's grab region and drag this onto columns. Let's find subcategory and move this onto rows. I now want to do something slightly different. I want to change the mark type to line. I want to take position and drop that onto the path. I want you to right click on this and select dimension. Perfect. I now want you to do the same. Take position, drop this onto rows, right click and also select dimension. Oh, it's interesting now. Finally, let's take index, drop that onto columns. It's the table calculation, it's fine for now. Now I want us to take path bin, drop it onto rows, right click and ensure that show missing values is selected. It is. So now I want you to drag this onto details. I want you to right click on index, go to compute using, and now select bin. As you can see, we've created a bar chart. In essence, we've created our frame. So let's view the entire view. Beautiful. So this is just the basis of what we are going to do. Now we need to apply our data to this. So how will we do that? Firstly, let's create some calculated fields. Let's call this TC cells, windows, sum of cells. Remember, because we have 4 additional rows in a model, we have to divide by 4. Let's click OK. Let's right click and duplicate this. We are going to rename this now TC total cells. We will now look to create a percentage calculation. So let's create a new calculated field. Let's call this TC percentage. Let's put TC cells divided by TC total cells. Doing great so far. Now this is where we really start building this out. Let's create a new calculated field called X, and what we are going to say is if index is less than Windows max index, index divided by Windows max index, if that is less than TC percentage, then index end. So this gives us a calculation that would actually remove some points, or at least compares the index versus the percentage. So let's give that a try. Let's drag X and drop it over on top of index to remove index. Shock horror, everything has disappeared, but that's fine. It's because we have to edit the table calculation. So let's right click on X, go to compute using, and select path bin. Voila, it's all come back. Now I want to right click, go to edit, and now in our total cells I want us to click on position, and now you can see we have an interesting series of lines. This is what we're going to work with. So let's hide our headers, let's expand a little. Let's increase the size a bit. Let's hide the X because we don't need to see that. Also, the null, let's filter out the null so you don't see it. Increase the size a bit more. You can see it's becoming a rounded bar. Now the last step is to keep your hand on Control or Command. Take X and drop it into color. You can see now we have our gradient bar chart. What we have to do now is format. So let's actually format this to perfection. Let's hide the region. Let's right click on the canvas and go to format. Let's remove our grid lines. Let's remove our zero lines. I think for rows and columns, let's both of them have dash. Yeah, let's do that. And here you have it. It's very rudimentary. It's quite simple. What we have done is we've created lines and we've just shaded them as they go from left to right. And now you have a gradient bar chart. So let's rename this to gradient bar chart. Again, we can add filters, we can play this as much as we want. The key thing here is that we brought in a model that contained information that was not in our data set. In our case, position and path. We built our basic frame and then we applied our data to this. So, I hope you enjoyed this. Revisit the lesson if you want to. The main thing is to understand the key ideas and concepts, and hopefully see you in the next lesson.